Question 1. A project manager on an Agile project notices that the team's velocity has been consistently declining over the last 3 sprints, and several user stories are frequently carried over. The team members appear stressed and less engaged during the daily stand-ups. What is the best first action for the project manager to take? A. Escalate the issue to senior management to request additional resources. B. Update the burndown chart and communicate the revised completion date to stakeholders. C. Facilitate a focused discussion during the next retrospective to identify root causes. D. Implement mandatory overtime for the team to catch up on delayed work. Answer: C. Facilitate a focused discussion during the next retrospective to identify root causes. When a team's performance, like declining velocity or low engagement, indicates underlying issues, the best initial action for a project manager, especially in an Agile environment, is to leverage the team's self-organizing nature and dedicated improvement events. A retrospective is specifically designed for the team to inspect its past sprint and adapt its processes, making it the ideal forum to collectively identify the root causes of declining velocity and stress, empowering the team to find solutions. For example, if the team determines the issue is scope creep or technical debt, they can then devise strategies to address it. Remember that empowering the team to solve their own problems through inspection and adaptation is a cornerstone of Agile methodologies. Question 2. Your project CPI, Cost Performance Index, is 0.85, and your SPI, Schedule Performance Index, is 1.15. The project is halfway through its planned duration. What is the most accurate interpretation of this data? A. The project is over budget and behind schedule. B. The project is under budget and ahead of schedule. C. The project is over budget and ahead of schedule. D. The project is under budget and behind schedule. Answer: C. The project is over budget and ahead of schedule. The Cost Performance Index, CPI, and Schedule Performance Index, SPI, are key earned value management, EVM, metrics used to assess project performance. A CPI less than 1, like 0.85, indicates that the project is getting less value for the money spent, meaning it is currently over budget. Conversely, an SPI greater than 1, like 1.15, indicates that the project is progressing faster than planned, meaning it is ahead of schedule. For example, if a project planned to spend $100 and complete 10 units of work but instead spent $100 to complete only 8.5 units, that's over budget. If it completed 11.5 units when it only planned for 10 units by this time, that's ahead of schedule. Always remember that an index less than 1 is unfavorable, while an index greater than 1 is favorable. Question 3. During a project's execution phase, a key stakeholder expresses concerns that the final product might not meet their evolving business needs, even though the project is following the approved scope baseline. This stakeholder is known for frequently changing their mind. What should the project manager do first? A. Inform the stakeholder that changes cannot be accommodated as the scope is baselined. B. Initiate a formal change request to address the stakeholder's evolving needs. C. Schedule a meeting with the stakeholder to understand the underlying reasons for their concerns and discuss potential solutions. D. Reevaluate the project's development approach to incorporate more flexibility. Answer: C. Schedule a meeting with the stakeholder to understand the underlying reasons for their concerns and discuss potential solutions. When a stakeholder expresses concerns about unmet needs, the project manager's primary responsibility is to engage them proactively to understand the root cause before jumping to solutions. A meeting allows for open communication, active listening, and clarification of expectations, which is crucial for effective stakeholder engagement. For instance, the stakeholder might be reacting to market shifts, or perhaps there's a misunderstanding of the current scope, both of which require direct dialogue before considering formal changes or reevaluating the entire approach. Always prioritize direct communication to fully understand stakeholder needs and build rapport, as this can prevent misunderstandings and unnecessary rework. Question 4. A project team is struggling with frequent, disruptive changes to requirements from various stakeholders. The project manager has tried to enforce a strict change control process, but stakeholders continue to submit numerous changes directly to the team, causing confusion and delays. What is the most effective approach to manage this situation? A. Implement a change control board, CCB, to review all change requests and enforce strict adherence. B. Re-engage with key stakeholders to establish a clear change management plan, emphasizing communication channels and impact assessment. C. Document all changes, apply them as received, and update the project schedule and budget accordingly. D. Escalate the issue to the project sponsor, requesting their intervention to stop unapproved changes. Answer: B. Re-engage with key stakeholders to establish a clear change management plan, emphasizing communication channels and impact assessment. The core issue here is not just the volume of changes, but the breakdown in the process and stakeholder adherence. Simply implementing a CCB or escalating without addressing the underlying communication and understanding will likely lead to continued frustration. The most effective approach involves proactive re-engagement with stakeholders to collaboratively establish a clear, mutually agreed-upon change management plan. This ensures everyone understands the process, the importance of official channels, and the impact of unmanaged changes, leading to better compliance and project stability. For example, by showing stakeholders how numerous informal changes impact deadlines and costs, they are more likely to support a structured approach. Remember, buy-in from stakeholders is crucial for any process to be effective. Question 5. During the daily scrum, a team member consistently uses the time to provide detailed explanations of technical challenges they are facing, often leading to discussions that exceed the 15-minute time box and involve only a few team members. What should the Scrum Master do? A. Allow the discussion to continue, as it helps resolve critical technical issues quickly. B. Advise the team member to keep their updates concise and save detailed discussions for after the daily scrum. C. Ask other team members to provide input on the technical challenge during the daily scrum. D. Report the team member's behavior to the product owner, as it impacts efficiency. Answer: B. Advise the team member to keep their updates concise and save detailed discussions for after the daily scrum. The daily scrum is a 15-minute time-boxed event primarily for the development team to synchronize activities and plan for the next 24 hours, focusing on progress toward the sprint goal and identifying impediments. Detailed technical discussions, while important, are not the purpose of this meeting and should be parked for separate, follow-up meetings involving only the relevant team members immediately after the daily scrum. For example, if a developer is discussing a complex database issue, the Scrum Master should gently remind them to keep it brief and suggest they schedule a dedicated technical huddle with relevant colleagues right after the stand-up. The Scrum Master's role is to facilitate the event and ensure the team adheres to its purpose and time box, thereby protecting the team's focus and efficiency. Question 6. A project is being executed in a highly volatile market with rapidly changing technology requirements. The initial detailed scope document is becoming obsolete quickly, causing significant rework and delays. What development approach would be most suitable for this project environment? A. Predictive, waterfall. B. Hybrid. C. Incremental. D. Agile. Answer: D. Agile. In environments characterized by high volatility, rapid technological changes, and evolving requirements, an agile development approach is the most suitable because it embraces change and provides continuous adaptation. Unlike predictive approaches that rely on a fixed upfront plan, agile methodologies like Scrum or Kanban deliver value in small, iterative cycles, allowing for frequent feedback and adjustments based on the latest information. For instance, in a rapidly changing software market, an agile team can release a minimum viable product quickly, gather user feedback, and then iterate on it, rather than trying to build a perfect product based on potentially outdated initial requirements. Remember, Agile is designed to thrive in uncertainty and deliver value incrementally through flexible planning. Question 7. A project manager discovers that a newly hired team member from a different cultural background is consistently quiet during team meetings and rarely offers opinions, leading other team members to assume a lack of engagement. What should the project manager do to foster better team collaboration and communication? A. Mandate that the team members speak up during meetings to ensure their participation. B. Organize a team-building event to help the new member integrate socially. C. Research the team member's cultural background to understand communication norms and adapt interaction strategies. D. Assign the team member more tasks to force them to communicate more frequently. Answer: C. Research the team member's cultural background to understand communication norms and adapt interaction strategies. Effective team management, especially in diverse teams, requires understanding and adapting to different communication styles and cultural norms. A quiet demeanor might be a sign of respect or contemplation in some cultures, rather than a lack of engagement, and forcing participation could be counterproductive. By researching the team member's cultural background, the project manager can gain insights into their communication preferences and then tailor interaction strategies, perhaps by providing opportunities for one-on-one discussions or using written communication, thereby fostering true engagement and inclusion. For instance, in some cultures, challenging a leader in public is seen as disrespectful, so direct questions might be better asked privately. Understanding cultural nuances is key to building a high-performing, inclusive team. Question 8. A project manager is leading a large, complex project. During the execution phase, a risk event occurs that was identified in the risk register but had a low probability and impact assigned. The actual impact is significantly higher than anticipated, causing a major disruption to the project schedule. What is the most important lesson learned from this situation? A. Risk response plans should be developed for all identified risks, regardless of their assessed probability or impact. B. The risk management plan needs to include a process for periodically re-evaluating risk probabilities and impacts. C. Contingency reserves should be allocated more generously for all project risks. D. More detailed qualitative risk analysis is required for all risks. Answer: B. The risk management plan needs to include a process for periodically re-evaluating risk probabilities and impacts. This scenario highlights the dynamic nature of project risks and the potential for initial assessments to become inaccurate over time or with new information. While developing response plans for all risks and allocating reserves are good practices, the core issue here is that the assessment of the risk itself proved flawed. A robust risk management plan must include processes for regularly reviewing and updating risk probabilities, impacts, and overall risk scores, ensuring the risk register remains current and reflective of the project's evolving risk landscape. For example, a new technology might initially seem low risk, but as the project progresses, unforeseen integration challenges could significantly increase its potential impact. Periodic re-evaluation allows the project to adapt and manage risks more effectively. Question 9. A project is 60% complete, and the earned value, EV, is $600,000. The actual cost, AC, is $750,000, and the planned value, PV, at this point was $500,000. What is the Cost Performance Index, CPI, for this project? A. 0.8. B. 1.25. C. 0.67. D. 1.2. Answer: A. 0.8. The Cost Performance Index, CPI, is a critical earned value management, EVM, metric that measures the cost efficiency of the project. It is calculated by dividing the earned value, EV, by the actual cost, AC. In this scenario, EV is $600,000 and AC is $750,000, so CPI equals EV/AC equals $600,000/$750,000 equals 0.8. A CPI of 0.8 indicates that for every dollar spent, only 80 cents of value has been earned, meaning the project is over budget. For example, if you plan to complete a specific task for $100 but spent $125 to complete it, your CPI would be 0.8. Remember, a CPI less than 1.0 is unfavorable, indicating a cost overrun. Question 10. A Scrum team continually struggles to meet its sprint goal, often due to external dependencies that cause delays and block progress. The product owner and Scrum Master have tried to manage these dependencies, but the issue persists. What is the best approach for the team to address this persistent challenge? A. Reprioritize the product backlog to include only items with no external dependencies. B. Invite representatives from the external teams to participate in the sprint planning and daily scrums. C. Implement a formal service level agreement, SLA, with the external teams to ensure timely delivery. D. Discuss the recurring impediment during the next sprint retrospective and formulate a strategy for improvement. Answer. D. Discuss the recurring impediment during the next sprint retrospective and formulate a strategy for improvement. When a Scrum team faces a persistent impediment, such as recurring external dependencies impacting the sprint goal, the sprint retrospective is the dedicated event for introspection and adaptation. This is where the team, Scrum Master, and product owner collectively discuss what went well, what could be improved, and identify actionable strategies to address challenges. For example, the team might decide to proactively coordinate with external teams earlier, or the Scrum Master might identify systemic organizational issues to escalate. While inviting external representatives or formal SLAs might be future solutions, the first step is always to bring the issue to the team's attention in the retrospective to collectively understand the problem and devise a plan for improvement. The retrospective empowers the team to be self-managing and continuously improve. Question 11. The project sponsor unexpectedly informs the project manager that due to budget cuts, the project's funding will be reduced by 15% starting next month. The project is currently in the execution phase, and the scope cannot be reduced. What is the project manager's best next course of action? A. Immediately halt all non-essential activities and inform the team of potential layoffs. B. Issue a formal change request to reflect the budget reduction and request revised baselines. C. Analyze the impact of the funding cut on the project schedule, quality, and resources, and then present options to the sponsor. D. Cut contingency reserves and management reserves to absorb the immediate impact. Answer. C. Analyze the impact of the funding cut on the project schedule, quality, and resources, and then present options to the sponsor. An unexpected budget cut is a significant project constraint change that requires careful analysis before any action is taken. The project manager must first understand the full implications across all project aspects, including schedule, quality, and resource allocation, as the scope is fixed. By performing this analysis, the project manager can then present well-thought-out options and their consequences to the sponsor, empowering informed decision-making. For instance, the analysis might show that maintaining scope with reduced budget will extend the schedule or require cheaper, lower-quality resources. Reacting without analysis, such as halting activities or cutting reserves blindly, could lead to further detrimental impacts. Always perform impact analysis before making critical decisions related to project constraints. Question 12. A project is nearing its closure phase when a new regulatory requirement is introduced that directly impacts the deliverables compliance. Implementing this change will significantly increase costs and delay the project. What is the project manager's primary responsibility in this situation? A. Refuse to implement the change as it occurs too late in the project lifecycle. B. Document the new requirement and its impact, then present it to the Change Control Board, CCB, for approval. C. Accelerate project activities to complete the deliverable before the regulation takes effect. D. Absorb the new costs and schedule delays, and update the project management plan accordingly. Answer. B. document the new requirement and its impact, then present it to the Change Control Board, CCB, for approval. Even late in a project, a new regulatory requirement is a non-negotiable compliance issue that constitutes a significant change. The project manager's primary responsibility is not to unilaterally accept or reject it, but to formally manage it through the established change control process. This involves documenting the new requirement, analyzing its impact on scope, schedule, cost, and quality, and then submitting it to the Change Control Board, CCB, for their review and decision. For example, in a medical device project, a new FDA requirement might necessitate a redesign, and the CCB would weigh the cost of redesign against the legal implications of non-compliance. Always follow the change control process to ensure all stakeholders are informed and decisions are made in a controlled manner. Question 13. A project team is highly experienced and self-organizing. The project manager finds themselves spending a lot of time on detailed task assignments and micromanaging individual team members. This approach is leading to demotivation and reduced productivity. What leadership style should the project manager adopt to improve this situation? A. Authoritarian. B. Laissez-faire. C. Servant leadership. D. Transactional leadership. Answer: C. Servant leadership. For an experienced and self-organizing team, a servant leadership style is highly effective. Instead of directing and controlling, a servant leader focuses on empowering the team, removing impediments, facilitating their growth, and supporting their autonomy. Micromanaging such a team is counterproductive and stifles their initiative, as indicated by the demotivation and reduced productivity. By adopting servant leadership, the project manager shifts from task assignment to fostering an environment where the team can thrive independently and take ownership. For example, instead of assigning specific coding tasks, a servant leader would ask what support the team needs to achieve their sprint goal, thereby empowering them. Remember, a project manager should adapt their leadership style to suit the team's maturity and project context. Question 14. A key project deliverable is due next week, but quality control inspections reveal several critical defects that require significant rework. The project manager is under immense pressure to meet the deadline. What should the project manager do first? A. Authorize the team to work overtime to fix the defects and still meet the deadline. B. Issue a change request to extend the deadline to accommodate the rework. C. Renegotiate the quality standards with the customer to accept the deliverable with known defects. D. Consult with the team to understand the root causes of the defects and develop a plan for rework. Answer: D. Consult with the team to understand the root causes of the defects and develop a plan for rework. When critical defects are discovered, the immediate priority is to understand the problem fully before rushing into solutions. Consulting with the team, who performed the work, is crucial to identifying the root causes of the defects and accurately estimating the effort required for rework. This collaborative approach ensures that the chosen solution is effective and sustainable, rather than a quick fix that might lead to further issues. For instance, if the team identifies that a specific testing tool is malfunctioning, addressing that root cause will prevent future defects. Only after understanding the problem's scope and devising a rework plan can the project manager accurately assess impacts on schedule and budget and decide on the best course of action, which might involve overtime or a schedule extension. Question 15. A project manager identifies a potential risk that, if it occurs, could significantly impact the project's success. However, the probability of this risk occurring is extremely low. The project sponsor advises to simply accept the risk due to budget constraints for a detailed response plan. What is the most appropriate action for the project manager? A. Inform the sponsor that accepting the risk is unprofessional and against project management best practices. B. Document the sponsor's decision to accept the risk in the risk register and monitor it. C. Develop a detailed contingency plan for the risk, even against the sponsor's advice, to protect the project. D. Transfer the risk to a third party through insurance or a contract. Answer: B. Document the sponsor's decision to accept the risk in the risk register and monitor it. Risk acceptance is a valid risk response strategy, particularly for risks with low probability or impact, or when the cost of mitigation outweighs the potential benefit. In this scenario, the project sponsor, who often has the ultimate authority regarding funding and risk tolerance, has explicitly chosen to accept the risk. The project manager's role is not to overrule the sponsor but to ensure that this decision is formally documented in the risk register, outlining the accepted risk and the rationale, and to continue monitoring it in case its probability or impact changes. For example, if a construction project has a tiny chance of a specific rare weather event, the sponsor might decide to accept that risk rather than building an expensive, custom flood barrier. Always ensure that risk response decisions, especially those made by stakeholders, are clearly recorded and monitored. Question 16. A project team is using Kanban to manage their workflow. They consistently observe that work items pile up in the testing column, leading to a bottleneck and preventing new features from moving through the system. What is the best immediate action for the team to take? A. Limit the work in progress, WIP, for the development column. B. Add more testers to the team to handle the backlog. C. Swarm on the testing column, with developers helping with testing activities. D. Reprioritize the backlog to reduce the number of items requiring extensive testing. Answer: C. Swarm on the testing column, with developers helping with testing activities. In Kanban, the primary goal is to optimize flow and minimize bottlenecks. When a specific column, like testing, becomes a bottleneck, the most effective immediate action is for the entire team to swarm or collectively focus their efforts on clearing that bottleneck. This means developers might temporarily pause new development to assist with testing, ensuring that work items move through the system efficiently. For example, instead of developers starting new coding tasks, they would help the testers with unit testing or reviewing test cases. This collaborative approach adheres to the Kanban principle of focusing on flow rather than individual task specialization and helps identify systemic issues. Limiting WIP is a good long-term strategy, but swarming addresses the immediate blockage. Question 17. The project manager has observed that a new team member is struggling with a complex technical task, repeatedly asking for help and falling behind schedule. The project manager suspects a skills gap. What is the most effective approach for the project manager to take? A. Reassign the task to a more experienced team member to ensure timely completion. B. Document the performance issue and schedule a formal performance review. C. Provide specific training or coaching to the team member and offer support. D. Advise the team member to seek external training on their own time. Answer: C. Provide specific training or coaching to the team member and offer support. When a project manager suspects a skills gap, the most effective and supportive approach is to provide the necessary resources for improvement. Reassigning the task might solve the immediate problem but does not address the underlying issue, and formal reviews are typically for persistent, unaddressed performance issues. Offering targeted training or coaching, such as pairing them with a senior developer or providing access to relevant online courses, empowers the team member to develop their skills and contribute effectively. For example, if a new developer is struggling with a new programming language, the project manager could arrange for a short, intensive course or assign a mentor. Investing in team members' development fosters a more capable and motivated team. Question 18. A project manager is leading a global virtual team across multiple time zones. Communication often suffers due to delays in responses and misunderstandings caused by cultural differences in communication styles. What is the best way to improve communication effectiveness for this team? A. Mandate a single, overlapping work period for all team members to ensure real-time communication. B. Implement a communication management plan that outlines preferred communication methods, tools, and cultural sensitivity guidelines. C. Schedule more frequent and longer virtual meetings to ensure everyone is on the same page. D. Rely solely on asynchronous communication tools like email and project management software. Answer: B. Implement a communication management plan that outlines preferred communication methods, tools, and cultural sensitivity guidelines. Managing a global virtual team with diverse cultural backgrounds requires a deliberate and structured approach to communication. A comprehensive communication management plan is essential, as it clearly defines how, when, and by whom information will be shared, and crucially, incorporates cultural sensitivity guidelines to prevent misunderstandings. For instance, it might specify that important decisions are always confirmed in writing, or provide guidance on directness in feedback across different cultures. While overlapping work periods or specific tools can be part of the solution, the plan provides the overarching framework and clarity needed to address communication challenges systematically, ensuring everyone understands and adheres to the established communication norms. Question 19. A critical path activity on your project is experiencing a delay due to a supplier's inability to deliver a key component on time. The project has very little float. What is the most appropriate strategy for the project manager to consider? A. Fast tracking. B. Crashing. C. Rebaselining the schedule. D. Resource leveling. Answer: B. Crashing. When a critical path activity is delayed and there's very little float, the goal is to shorten the project duration. Crashing is a schedule compression technique that involves adding resources to critical path activities to complete them faster, typically at an increased cost. For example, if a supplier is delaying a component, crashing might involve paying a premium for expedited shipping or hiring additional personnel to quickly integrate the component once it arrives. Fast tracking, while also a compression technique, involves performing activities in parallel that would normally be done in sequence, which increases risk. Crashing is the direct method to shorten the duration of an already delayed critical path activity when the goal is to make up time, acknowledging the cost impact. Question 20. A project manager is reviewing the quality report and notices a recurring issue. A high percentage of defects are found in the final testing phase, which are expensive to fix. This suggests that defects are being introduced early in the process but not caught until much later. What quality management concept is most relevant here? A. Total quality management, TQM. B. Cost of quality, COQ. C. Quality control, QC. D. Quality assurance, QA. Answer: B. Cost of quality, COQ. This scenario directly relates to the cost of quality, COQ, which categorizes costs related to quality into cost of good quality, prevention and appraisal costs, and cost of poor quality, internal and external failure costs. Finding defects late in the final testing phase means incurring high internal failure costs, rework, scrap, which are significantly more expensive than prevention costs, example proper design, training, or appraisal costs, example early inspections. The project manager should focus on increasing prevention and appraisal activities earlier in the project lifecycle to reduce these costly late-stage failures. For example, investing in better design reviews and early prototyping could prevent these expensive defects from reaching final testing. The insight here is to understand that preventing issues is almost always cheaper than fixing them. Question 21. A project has just completed its final deliverables and they have been accepted by the client. The project manager is now initiating the project closure process. Which of the following activities is most critical to perform during this phase? A. Update the organizational process assets with lessons learned documentation. B. Formally release the project team members to other assignments. C. Conduct a final performance review for all project team members. D. Close out all procurement contracts. Answer: A. Update the organizational process assets with lessons learned documentation. While all listed activities are part of project closure, updating organizational process assets with lessons learned is arguably the most critical for future organizational improvement. This activity ensures that the knowledge gained from successes and failures during the project is captured, analyzed, and made available to other projects, preventing recurring mistakes and promoting best practices across the organization. For example, documenting challenges encountered with a specific vendor and how they were resolved can inform future procurement strategies. Without this, valuable experience is lost, and the organization misses an opportunity for continuous improvement. It's about leveraging current project experience for future success. Question 22. A project team is working on a complex system integration. There is significant interdependency between different modules, and a failure in one module can cascade and affect others. What type of diagram would be most effective for visualizing these interdependencies and potential points of failure? A. Work breakdown structure, WBS. B. Responsibility assignment matrix, RAM. C. Systems flow diagram, SFD, or value stream map. D. Gantt chart. Answer: C. Systems flow diagram, SFD, or value stream map. For visualizing complex system interdependencies and potential cascading failures, a systems flow diagram, SFD, or a value stream map, VSM, are highly effective tools. An SFD illustrates the flow of a system, showing how different components or modules interact and the sequence of operations, making it easy to identify critical paths and potential bottlenecks. A VSM similarly shows the steps in a process and the flow of information and materials, highlighting areas of waste or delay. For example, an SFD could illustrate how data flows between different software modules, identifying where a corrupted input might cause downstream errors. These diagrams go beyond simple task breakdowns or timelines to show the relationships within a system, which is crucial for complex integrations. Question 23. A project manager is informed that a critical resource for their project has been reassigned to a higher priority organizational initiative for an indefinite period. This resource possesses unique skills essential for a key deliverable. What should the project manager do first? A. Immediately escalate the issue to the project sponsor, demanding the resources return. B. Update the project schedule and budget to reflect the impact of the resource loss. C. Identify alternative resources or solutions, and assess the impact on the project, before communicating options. D. Initiate a formal change request to remove the deliverable associated with the lost resource from the scope. Answer: C. Identify alternative resources or solutions, and assess the impact on the project, before communicating options. When a critical resource is unexpectedly removed, the project manager's first step should be to proactively analyze the situation and explore potential solutions internally before escalating or making drastic decisions. This involves identifying if there are other team members who can be cross-trained, whether external contractors can fill the gap, or if the work can be resequenced. For example, if a lead architect is removed, the project manager should first check if a senior developer can step up with some training or if the architecture firm can provide temporary support. By presenting well-thought-out options and their respective impacts to the sponsor, the project manager demonstrates control and problem-solving ability, enabling informed decision-making rather than merely presenting a problem. Question 24. A project manager frequently encounters scope creep on their Agile project, where new features are requested mid-sprint by various stakeholders, disrupting the team's focus and sprint goal. The product owner is overwhelmed by these requests. What is the best long-term solution for the project manager to address this issue? A. Encourage the product owner to strictly refuse all new requests once a sprint has started. B. Facilitate regular backlog refinement sessions where stakeholders review and prioritize upcoming work. C. Document all incoming requests and add them to the product backlog for consideration in future sprints. D. Implement a formal change control process for all sprint-level changes. Answer: B. Facilitate regular backlog refinement sessions where stakeholders review and prioritize upcoming work. The most effective long-term solution to manage scope creep in an agile environment, especially when the product owner is overwhelmed, is to strengthen the backlog refinement process. Regular backlog refinement sessions, involving relevant stakeholders, ensure that new requests are reviewed, discussed, prioritized, and estimated before they enter a sprint. This allows for informed decision-making about what truly provides the most value, prevents mid-sprint disruptions, and helps the product owner manage expectations. For example, by showing stakeholders the current sprint goal and the effort involved in mid-sprint changes, they will better understand why new requests need to go through refinement. This proactive approach ensures that only the most valuable and ready items enter a sprint, maintaining team focus and a stable sprint goal. Question 25. A project is halfway through its execution, and the project manager notices that actual expenditures are significantly lower than planned, while the work completed is slightly ahead of schedule. The Cost Performance Index, CPI, is 1.15, and the Schedule Performance Index, SPI, is 1.05. What is the most likely implication of this data? A. The project will finish over budget but ahead of schedule. B. The project is performing efficiently and will likely finish under budget and ahead of schedule. C. The project's initial estimates for both cost and schedule were overly aggressive. D. The quality of work performed might be suffering due to cost-cutting measures. Answer: B. The project is performing efficiently and will likely finish under budget and ahead of schedule. The Earned Value Management, EVM, metric CPI and SPI provide a snapshot of project performance. A CPI greater than 1.15, indicates the project is currently under budget, meaning it's getting more value for the money spent. An SPI greater than 1.05, indicates the project is ahead of schedule, meaning more work has been completed than planned by this point. When both indices are above 1, it strongly suggests that the project is performing efficiently and effectively, likely leading to completion both under budget and ahead of schedule. For example, if you plan to spend $100 and complete 10 units, but you only spent $87 and completed 10.5 units, you'd be under budget and ahead of schedule. While over-aggressive estimates or quality issues could be reasons, the most direct and likely interpretation of favorable CPI and SPI is overall positive project performance.